and welcome to the Healthy Half Hour podcast. We are your hosts, Richard and Karen Inslee.
The Healthy Half Hour podcast is your resource for all things healthy, and we will be discussing how to make nutrition, fitness and lifestyle choices work for you.
We will be sharing our own personal insights along with research gathered from working in the health and fitness industry for the past 10 years.
Our show is brought to you by the 7 Day Shred, which can be found at 7dayshred.com, and please feel free to visit our podcast website, which can be found at healthyhalfhourpodcast.com.
And now on to today's show.
Hi everybody, what have we been doing? Well,
Ice skating.
yeah, that was
Lying on the ice.
interesting. Yeah, we went on Saturday evening and I was actually lapping you and you were super impressed that I was like getting to grips with it quite confidently, and I had a small fall and picked myself up, and then this buzzer went and I didn't know what that meant, but apparently it means you change direction, and 2 laps into the opposite way I took quite the hard fall, landed on my right wrist and ended up in emergency on Monday morning. And they diagnosed me with a broken wrist, and apparently found out off the specialist yesterday that I don't have a broken wrist. So I'm super happy about that, but doesn't mean that it's not painful still. But
It's a little bruised, but like you say, at least you've not got to wear a plaster cast or anything for a while. So
yeah,
just look after it. And
that wouldn't have been good because they put a temporary cast on it, and wow, do you ever realise just how much of a problem it causes? Like, you become so immobile. There's so many simple little things that you can't do. So, yeah.
But onward and upward.
Yeah.
So we're
We've had some snow.
last night.
Yeah, last night.
Yeah.
So that's exciting. We've actually had hardly any snow this winter, and it's been mild, which we've been excited about. But seeing as my ice skating career is on hold for a few weeks, we're excited now because at least we've got snow to cross-country ski.
Yeah, we'll go on the weekend. They should get everything done. We had about 6 inches last night, so nice powdery stuff. So it should pack down nicely as long as it don't get too many high winds and just blow it all into high spaces. But that should be good. But yeah, today's podcast, we're going to talk about the calorie paradox. So again, I know we've spoke about calories before on previous episodes, but just before Christmas, I was doing one of my classes, and just before the class was starting, one of the people in the class said, "Oh yeah, a family member of mine has kind of put a little bit of weight on over the last year, so I've kind of signed him up for a half marathon in June, and we're going to train for the half marathon so we can kind of get the weight back off him." And I kind of looked at him and I said, "You know that really doesn't work." "Yes, it does." And I said, "Well, actually it doesn't." And he says, "Well, we're in this exercise class. What are we all doing here then?" I says, "You're kind of working your muscles, working your joints and everything." I says, "Yes, you're going to use a few calories doing it." I said, "You're going to sweat." And I said, "The metabolic effects of exercise are numerous. And I mean, you could list as long as your arm." And I said, "But to be honest with you, burning calories isn't one of them. And if you think you're here just burning calories and going to lose weight from doing this," I said, "to be honest, you've got another thing coming." And I kind of quoted previously when I've done the half marathon talks at the local running club. And again, I've said to those guys, "Who's here to lose weight?" And 90% of them, most of them, put their hands up and ask how many have lost weight. And 90% put their hands up and say, "Yeah, we haven't." So.
And yeah, you saying about the metabolic effects of like working out. I mean, you have to think about, it's like, we always say that exercise in itself does not directly help you to lose weight, but from the metabolic perspective, it can help to regulate and manage your insulin resistance and glucose tolerance. So from that perspective, yes, indirectly, it can contribute towards like weight loss, but it's not actually those calories that you're burning in that activity is not a direct correlation.
No, and again, there's a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? Controversy over the calorie in, calorie out thing. And to be honest, yeah, you can't barter calories. We've said that before. So 100 calories snack bar doesn't need to equal 100 calories worth of burpees.
Really? So, we've been telling people that just to get them to do burpees.
Well, I know. Shh. I've just got to have some carrot on the end of the stick. What the caloric value of a carrot is.
Anywho, I'll have a look.
We so from that point of view, yes, it's calories in, calories out do matter because again, if you eat more than you expend, then yes, you're going to put weight on. You eat less than you expend, weight's going to come off. Obviously, due to you got to look at the metabolic things, thyroid and other things. It's not necessarily always a straight line.
And one of the things with the keto community, a lot of them don't track calories. They track their macros. But like you said, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you're eating. If you are eating more than you put out, then you are still going to gain weight.
And again, especially if you're on a fat-centric keto diet as more to a protein one, it's super easy to overeat fat calories. Mm-hmm. Like I said before, I tried keto a couple of years ago and put weight on it. Because apparently you can't stick as much butter or whatever else you want on your food and get away with it. So yes, calories do matter, but when it comes to looking at it from an exercise point of view, again, if you're just recreationally exercising, then it's something you should really kind of not take that much into consideration. If you're like training for an Ironman or something, then calories that you're burning do matter a big time because again, you need the energy so you can train. And you really need to know what's going in, and those excess calories will actually support that training. If you're doing an Ironman and wanting to lose weight, again, you're probably going to end up in the same boat as the half marathon people and not lose a whole lot because, again, is the paradox of the calorie is you're out there running, biking, swimming, burning more calories than you would normally. You need to take those extra calories on, otherwise your training session's going to suck because, again, you're calorie deficient and your energy low. So again, I know we've mentioned this before, but what is a calorie? So a calorie is actually what it takes to raise 1 gram of water 1 degree Celsius. The calories we use when we talk about calories is a kilocalorie. So it's actually 1,000 calories. So it's what it takes to raise 1 kilogram of water 1 degree Celsius. So if you get a 100 calorie snack bar, it's actually 100,000 calories. That's what it actually is. But we just call it kilocalories, so kcal. And so it's basically 100 calories rather than adding a ton of zeros to everything. So it just kind of makes it easier. So, but for the sake of this podcast and any other conversations we have, we're talking about kilocalories, not calories. So people just think calories are in food, but if you think of anything that burns, it will raise the temperature of water. So a litre of gasoline or petrol is 7,800 calories, believe it or not. A pound of wood, whether it's oak or spruce or whatever, is like 1,750 calories. So again, everything has a caloric value that will burn and produce heat. So again, all these things are pretty much carbon-based because that's, again, what burns. So when you actually look at that, it actually takes about 100 calories to walk a mile. So if you walk at 3 miles an hour, then we're going to burn like 300 calories. But if you sat in a chair and did nothing, you're going to burn 60 calories. So really, walking 3 miles an hour for an hour is going to burn 240 calories because you're already burning that amount of calories. And like I say, people think, oh yeah, 240 calories, that's great. But again, if you live in Canada and you understand this, it's a medium double-double. It's half of a Tim's breakfast sandwich. It's a slice of whole wheat toast with a tablespoon and a half of peanut butter. It's a serving of applesauce. So 240 calories, you've walked for an hour and you get yourself a drink on the way home. Again, we can't barter calories, but it just shows you how much effort you've got to put into burning those calories, where it's way easier to look at your diet, look at what food's going in and reduce the calories that way instead of trying to kill yourself.
And also, we have mentioned this before about the proteins, fats and carbs, and people fixate on calories and say, 100 calorie snack or whatever. But like I said, we've mentioned it in previous podcasts that if you digest 100 calories of protein, because your body has to work harder to break down protein when you eat it, it will probably absorb about 75 of those 100 calories. If you take on 100 calories of fats, your body will uptake around 98 of those calories. If you eat 100 calories of carbohydrates, your body will probably take on about 94 to 96 of those calories. So all calories are not considered equal. And yes, we have mentioned it before several times. So you do have to be conscious about what calories that you are eating. So again, going back to that keto comment that you made, if you're very fat centric and high fat consumption, you're going to be taking on more calories out of those 100 calories than if it was more protein centric.
Yeah, just purely by the mechanism of digestion. I mean, to digest protein takes more calories. I mean, your body has to work harder to actually break it down to its component parts. And just keeping on with the numbers a little bit, if you've got 20 pounds of fat to lose, which for most people, if you add the water to it, would probably be about 30 pounds, that's about 70,000 calories. So you'd have to walk 700 miles. And again, that's 700 miles just if you're kind of not eating anything else. So you're going to put food in. So again, you can see how kind of tough it'll be to like burn that amount of energy off. And I mean, there's... Again, like we've said before, we're in the health industry, not the diet industry. And I mean, the diet industry in some ways is part and parcel of these like gyms that promote come and burn 3,000 or whatever it is, 1,000 calories. And it's look at what your heart rate is and how many calories you're burning and how many points you get for it. And again, it's just that I don't know. I just can't think of the words to kind of go, put around it. It's just you're not wasting your time, but you're kind of looking at the wrong end of the stick sort of thing. You're looking at the wrong picture. You should be there again for health as opposed to weight loss. And if you look at any of the TV commercials, like for Bowflexers or even the Peloton one that's going around at the minute, I mean, the small print at the bottom says, yeah, you'll lose weight if it's combined with a good diet. So they have to put that in there because, again, it won't do it. You won't lose weight just by purely doing it.
And you used to work with a woman that we used to see at the gym, and she'd be there on the treadmill with her treadmill platform at an angle. She'd be holding on for dear life, walking on an incline and saying, like, I have to burn my 1,000 calories. Like, I come every single day or however she came. And those calorie counters on those pieces of equipment in the gym, I mean, it's a selling feature, and it's there to get you in the gym, to get you staying there. But again, the fact that she was like gripping hold of the treadmill for dear life because the incline that she had and at the pace that she was going, she couldn't let go of the bar because it would be too hard, too fast. And we're like, well, reduce the incline or go slower. And she's like, no, I just need to like burn my 1,000 calories. But because she's holding on to the bar, she's actually burning less than what she actually thinks.
That's and again, from a cardio point of view, from getting your heart and you going and the lungs, and again, the relationship between the heart and the lungs and pumping blood around your body and pumping oxygen around your body and moving lymph and everything. Yeah, awesome. She's doing all the right things, but again, just looking at it from the wrong angle, and she should be there doing it from the angle of, yes, this is going to be good for me, and I'm going to not go to McDonald's or wherever on the way home and have a Big Mac fries and a Diet Coke because, again, we don't want to put too much weight on, you know what I mean? So it's just looking at those correct method. Well, again, it's just looking at those correct reasons why you're doing it.
And one of the things that, like, say, you were saying about exercising and taking on nutrients from a health perspective, I mean, if you've listened to our podcasts for a while or know
You're probably bored.
or know us personally, we always say that gut health is key to overhealth, but it's also key to that number on the scales. But our gut microbiome is also key to how we actually utilize and uptake our calories. And we've got to understand that 99% of our intestinal bacteria is actually unable to use oxygen. So they're called anaerobes. And although there's a lot of foods that, like sauerkraut and yogurts, that have bacteria in them and like the probiotic like supplements, they contain bacteria that live in oxygen. So as great as these foods are, they actually have no effect on the anaerobes that actually run the show in our body. And two of the main gut microbiomes and anaerobes in our body are actually what's called firmicutase and bacteroidetes. And
big words.
I know, big words.
Have you taken notes as a quiz at the end?
Yeah, there is actually one. And typically obese people or overweight people actually have a higher level of firmicutase to bacteroidetes. And what does this mean to calories? Well, basically, if your firmicutase are higher, then you are actually they actually regulate how you uptake and absorb fat and calories in the body. So having a higher level of firmicutase will actually mean that you will actually uptake and extract and absorb more calories from your food than if you had a lower ratio of firmicutase to bacteroidetes. I know I actually had to look how to pronounce that word properly. And you're thinking well, how do we get that imbalance? Well, to be honest, an imbalance is caused by many factors. So things like stress can actually affect that relationship. Poor diet through, long-term poor nutrition choices. So, high processed diet, high sugars, high processed carbs, environmental pollutants. I mean, there's not a lot we can do about them. Lack of exercise will actually affect the balance of firmicutase to bacteroidetes. And so basically, one of the other factors as well, which might surprise you, is the shift in the body of these two, gut microbes, is actually antimicrobial soaps and sanitizers. This actually throws out that relationship between those gut microbiomes. So if you're one of these people that uses antimicrobial soaps and sanitizers excessively, this could actually impact negatively how your body actually uptakes calories and how much weight that you actually will gain or actually lose. And your gut health is really, really important on so many factors, but it actually will balance those firmicutase and bacteroidetes. And one of the things that you have to consider as well is what else will affect our gut microbiome? And it actually starts before we're even born, because having a natural childbirth, breastfeeding, and then really focusing on nutrition as an infant will actually influence big time that relationship between those two microbes, so gut microbes. So there's a lot more to it. And if you have a drop in your firmicutase, then it will actually improve your insulin and glucose sensitivity and tolerance. So I say it's not just calories in, calories out. That gut health is just key to so many other factors.
And again, there's so many moving parts with the calorie paradox. But again, we just really wanted with this one just to say that yes, do work out. Yes, like you say, like Karen says, with the microbiome and everything, it does matter, and what you put in your pie hole really does make an effect on, again, what happens in the gut, which again can affect how those calories are absorbed. So start somewhere, as always. Just again, I'm not a fan. I was talking to a new client yesterday and just saying, I'd like her to track her calories just for a week or so, just to kind of have a look at what's going in and what's going out. And I said, I don't expect you to do it, forever and a day. Some people love to, but it's just nice to know, again, calories in, calories out. Are you overeating? Are you undereating? Kind of always supplying the right amount of kind of macros, ballpark figures, just to kind of get you. And again, don't geek out on it necessarily, but just it's always nice to know. And that's a good place to start.
And leading on from that, people often approach us, and especially you with training, is that they've either had like poor diets or they've been trying to exercise the way out of a bad diet. And going back to that stress, so whether it's stress in the form of emotional stress, physical stress, like too much exercise is a stress on the body, but some exercise is a good stress. It could be stress from poor quality nutrition and poor diet, but stress actually reduces the blood supply needed to actually properly digest the foods and manage the balance of those gut bacteria. So stress, again, we have to really focus and put managing our stress and preventing stress. I mean, I always say, like, you don't have to avoid stress, you just have to get good at it and work how to reduce the stress, look at what the triggers are, whether it's nutrition, fitness, mental stress. And like I say, the stress reduces that blood supply needed to digest our foods. And so it directly impacts the gut microbes and hence, affects that weight and that number on the scale.
Yeah, and again, another question, just skipping back to the exercise part of it, is I often get emails and texts saying, "Oh, I did this workout. How many calories should I put down in my my Fitness Pal or Lose It or whatever app you're using?" And who cares? It really doesn't. Like I say, I mean, if it's an hour's worth of strength training, it's very personal to you. How much you lost depends on your weight, what the intensity was, how much weight you were lifting, blah, blah, blah. And I mean, put a couple hundred calories in for ballpark figure, but again, don't eat your exercise calories. I mean, if you've set your calories at 1400 or whatever, just to see kind of how things happen, and you burn 300 calories of doing exercise, just forget about it. Don't worry about it. Just if you're really hungry, yes, eat a little bit more. If you're going away for a couple of days to a conference or something and you're not going to exercise, then maybe eat a little bit less. But have a look at the results you're getting. If you're not getting any results, like Karen said in the last podcast, don't keep doing the same things over and over again and expecting a different result. If you're not getting any results, change something. Make small changes and make those small changes stick. Like we've said before in the habits podcast we've done, which we should really redo again. Look at those triggers, look at those habits, and find what works for you.
Like you say, I mean, at this time of year, people, the 1st of January, new year, new year, new me, and they try to make too many changes and do a 360-degree complete change. And like you say, small changes, but focus on the things that you can control and how it's going to impact you on a metabolic and physiological perspective. So focus on, okay, my gut microbes are really, really important, and what small changes can I make? And even just cleaning up the diet can actually make a huge difference.
Oh yeah, 100%. Just getting rid of some processed foods and not even changing calorically what you're eating can make a massive difference. Again, how your body looks at food. Because I mean, anything you eat, hopefully that's going to become part of you as long as you've got a good digestive system and you've just not got super expensive poop. So again, look at that. If you want to be that McDonald's burger and fries, well done. If you want to be that chicken breast and broccoli and potatoes, because again, of all the nutrients and everything in the whole food aspect of it, then all power to you. But have a look at that and just kind of have a think. Don't just mindlessly do things. And again, I was listening to a podcast the other day on habits and how people mindlessly do things, and they were at a movie theatre, and they gave people stale popcorn and they gave people fresh popcorn, and the people in the movie basically ate as much stale popcorn as the people did the fresh popcorn. And then they ran the experiment again, and what they did is, with people, if you eat with your right hand or your left hand, depending on which one, they told you to eat with the opposite hand. And then people normally eat with their right, ate with their left, and they didn't eat half as much as stale popcorn as what the other people did with the fresh, because you're having to think about eating now and not just mindlessly putting it in, because you don't think about the action of eating with your right hand. But with your left hand, because it was something different, you actually recognised that there was a taste difference and people didn't eat as much. So again, it's something as simple as that, because again, the amount of mindless things we do through the day, which is around 43% of your day, is stuff you don't think about. Whether it's driving your car, doing things at work, eating's probably one of the big ones. We just kind of mindlessly end up trudging through life, and again, just a little bit of thought sometimes about what those calories are and how much is going in can make a huge difference.
Well, as you said, I mean, you don't necessarily have to adjust how many calories you're intaking, but if you clean up the diet and improve like your gut health, then indirectly it's going to make a difference. So going to the super low calorie diets is not necessarily the way to go, but just cleaning up the calories that you're actually putting in there.
Yeah, so hopefully we've given you a little bit of food for thought.
Ooh.
Pun intended. And we will see you next time.
That's all we have time for right now, but we do hope that you join us for our next show. And if you want to contribute to an upcoming show by suggesting a topic that you would like us to discuss in more detail, then hop over to our website, healthyhalfhourpodcast.com, subscribe to our podcast and submit your suggestions. The Healthy Half Hour Podcast was brought to you by the 7 Day Shred, and don't forget to share our details with your friends and review our show. Until next time, thanks for listening.